It is so important as a business to build business credit because you want to separate your personal finances. You want to separate you from your entity. If you have not even created an entity and you're doing a side hustle, I know a lot of side hustles will begin with their name and their social, and their email, a Gmail. We all begin. You have to begin somewhere, but you have to eventually create an entity. I always see it like if you're going to create a business, I know a lot of people like, oh, let me just give it a try. Let me see if it works out. If it don't work out, then I tried. And a lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to create an entity. I don't want to do the EIN. I don't want to spend money on that because what if it don't work out? What if it did? You have to change your mindset. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to give it my best and I'm going to do whatever it takes. And so I believe a lot of businesses, when they start off with side hustles, sometimes they don't have time to actually get it going. I've been there. There are some things that I'm trying to get off the ground. Different businesses that I'm actually working on now, and helping my other clients as well. And it takes time, especially with the funding and experience and finding a good team and help. So it takes time, but everything is possible if you have a strategy and a plan. You cannot go toward your target if you don't have a plan. So a plan is important, and also funding is important. And so if you're going to want to make it work, you're going to have to build business credit, and you're going to have to create an entity. Entity, again, separates you from your personal to your business. So why is it important to build business credit? It's going to help you scale your business. It's going to help you to provide access to funds and keep it on the side. And it's going to help you also to create other businesses. Every time you have a credit card and you're paying for it, I mean, there's so much to the credit card. There's so many perks, like cash back, you have rewards, you have airline points you can redeem for free vacations. There's so much that credit cards can do that a debit card can't do, and paying with your check can't do. I used to, when I first began operating one of my properties, I was like, I'm going to do everything in a check so I can write down everything in the memo so I know. And so every time I do my bank statements, I'm going to match it and make sure everything's good. But that's so much time writing checks. I still write checks. If I'm dealing with a vendor or business that can't take a check, I'm like, oh. I mean, if they can't take credit card, I'm like, So then I write a check. But I really try to, everything credit card, everything, and pay everything before the bill, before the cycle is over, so that you can pay it off and get the benefits and cash back, stuff like that. I'll be sharing with you the credit cards that I use for my businesses, but it wouldn't be on this discussion. It'll be on another discussion. So using your credit, talk about credit cards now, is going to help conserve your cash. You want to conserve your cash as much as you can and always ensure that your bank account has funds in it. You never want to deplete that, okay? So you want to use credit cards, and the way to get credit cards is that you have to start building credit. And the way you start building credit is you need to have an entity, you need to have an LLC, you need to get your EIN, and get your DUNS number. So this is one thing that I wanted to talk about, and this is the reason why I wrote the workbook the other day. It's a workbook that you can go into my bio, and you're going to click on a link to put in your email so I know where to send that workbook to you. And it's a guide to go back to, fill it out, brainstorm. And then I also list 4 different tiers of credit cards or trade lines and vendors to start building your credit. And these 4 different tiers report to the business credit card bureaus. So a lot of vendors and companies don't even report your payment history. A lot of them don't. So the ones that I have on this workbook, they do report. And that's what you want. You want to get started and opening these accounts solely for the purpose of opening them, starting to use them, showing that you can make payments so that it's starting to get reported. And there's a strategy to that. You don't want to just start opening random cards and not paying them and forgetting. So you're going to have a system. You got to have a system of how you're keeping track of that. It's really important. And so one thing that is a suggestion, but one thing that I feel is I never want to find myself in a bind of I can't get funds. And I'll never forget the feeling of when COVID came. I mean, it's just something you can't forget, you know? The feeling of, oh my God, like I'm running out of money. I need to pay my employees. I don't want to lose my employees. I don't want to let go of my employees. I don't have no one coming into one of my properties. I'm not making enough money to even pay them or my loan or my vendors. And I still have guests walking in the hotel, you know? And I remember that there were so many hotel owners, and I'm talking about hotels because that's one of my main businesses that I do, is a help with my property and with other properties. Is, you know, I had people, hey, where are you getting your money from? What bank are you going to? I'm like, I'm at this bank. And a lot of the banks were first helping, and I'm sure y'all remember this, they were first helping their customers before they helped anyone else. And because I had a relationship with multiple banks, I was able to take one business, which was not a hotel, it was a medical practice, one business from the bank that they were at. It was a main bank. I'm not going to say their name, but it took forever for them to respond. You can only fill out a link online. You can't really talk to anyone. And they said, we'll get back with you in I don't know, maybe 30 days or something like that. And I was like, I don't think so. We need it now. So I spoke to another bank, and basically they got over there, they opened a bank account, and they started immediately helping them with application, and they got the funds and everything was fine, thank God. But that's what I'm saying is, like, the banks were first dealing with their own customer. You don't want to be in a bind in an emergency situation where you're now trying to get the funds, but the places that you're trying to get the funds is like, look, I don't know you. You got to provide me documents. You got to send me all of this stuff, and then we'll have to go into it. We have to look into it. And their timing might not be your timing. And you're like, look, I need to know. Can you give me the funds or not? I don't have time to wait. But whose problem is that? It's not theirs. So establish relations with multiple banks in your area. Okay? And start looking into different lines of credit, especially vendors and credit cards, to see what they're able to offer you. And then when they offer you something, take care of that amount. Use the card, pay it off before the cycle is over, and continuing to do that so you can start building credit. You don't want to be in a bind and then you're going to need funds. For me, I like to have my multiple banks with the multiple accounts with multiple lines of credit that I have access to, which I don't use, but I have access to for just in case, for what if scenario, because I want to conserve my cash. And if I need to make a big purchase, I can use my credit card. It's already there, it's ready, and then I get perks on it, which is cash back. Or if you want to do airlines, you can do the airline points. If you want to take those free vacations you hear about. So different cards provide different benefits. So that's another discussion, but there are multiple cards that provide stuff like that. So having them lined up for just in case. And I feel like that is the best way to operate in your personal and in your business. So having multiple lines of credit available and multiple vendors already establishing that the business account is great. I have an example of I think it was like United Rentals or something. No. Well, that was one of them. I needed to rent a boom lift. And I said, hey, I need to rent a boom lift. I need to clean out the gutters on one of my properties. And I was in a hurry. And because we were having someone paint or something, and they needed a boom lift, and we already scheduled them to come and paint the property, and I needed to get the boom lift for them. It'd be less of expensive. I got it. So, and because I was on a time frame, I didn't know that they wanted me to submit information of the business, like the entity, the bank accounts. And so it's a process, and I don't like to be unprepared. I like to be prepared. So if I would have known ahead of time, I would have gone all that instead of like stressing and getting all of that. So sometimes when you need something, it might take a while. So again, having your accounts that you want, get in touch with them, see what they need, give them what they need, and create that relationship before you really need them is so key. You don't want to be stranded and needing funds, and you can't find funds, and then the banks are not helping you. They're helping their own people first, and then you're drowning. So there was a lot of, especially during the PPP time, because overwhelmed with text messages and phone calls, like, what do I do? Who do I go to? Who did you use? And I was like, I use this one, I use that one, but they're helping their people first, having those multiple relationships are so important. You definitely want to have backup. I have multiple cards that have 30, 20, 10 grand, but I don't touch them because I don't need them. But if something were to happen, I can conserve my cash, use the card, and make sure I pay it before the bill is over.